Let's bring in Gene Munster, managing partner at Deepwater Asset Management. Gene, I might have thought it's just a phenomenon of high gasoline prices.
Well, Kelly, if we look back at what that impact was in the June quarter, gas prices average in the U.S. were up 33% compared to the average per gallon gas price in June of 2025. Now, most of those consumers, clearly there's been some benefit on that 25% growth that came from these higher gas prices. But my sense is that most of them think about these gas prices as transitory, is that the setup was clearly, the clear message from the White House was this would end quickly. And so, well, undoubtedly that pushed some sales into it. I think it was modest. And my best guess is that if you would normalize and say that gas prices year over year were unchanged, I still believe that they would have grown deliveries at 20%, which is an acceleration.
Why are people suddenly, it's so odd to me that at the moment that, again, we used to get legions of Tesla fans on social media all the time. That's gone silent. No one, everyone's moved on, it seems. They're talking about SpaceX. The models are old. They haven't had a refresh in a while. Why is Tesla suddenly seeing such high demand?
Well, the dynamic's pretty complicated, and it comes back to what we've seen over the past 2 years, this EV winter, when sales were down 1% in calendar 24, down 8% in calendar 25, and down expected to be basically down 2%. So I think there's been some pent-up demand that has pulled some of that through. And also, I just think that consumers are becoming progressively more open to electrification. I think that that seems to go in the face of kind of what we've heard about big gas, but the numbers aren't lying. I think that there is some substance here. There's another small factor around Doge, which is effectively that ending a year ago, I think has created some benefit, a little bit of a tailwind in terms of the brand. But the bigger picture here is that this delivery number, this is exactly what Tesla investors have been craving for the past 2 years when that EV winter started. Right. And even if you discount it, it's still a meaningful positive.
No, it's a huge positive. Now they finally get it. The shares are off 8%. Now, it'd be one thing if they were up 40% this year, but they're not. They've been selling off steadily. They were up maybe 12% last week into this, so a little bit of pull forward there. But they've hardly been an outperformer. And now we get this amazing number. And they're dumping it to the tune of 8%.
So I want to zero in on kind of the play-by-play of what happened in the past weeks. I think it is material to understanding what's happened here with this trading today is that you're right that the stock was up 12% over the past week. That compares to 4% versus the NASDAQ. And that came out when that whisper number effectively kind of leaked onto the street, that up 22% whisper number. And so I believe that was kind of that clearly had an impact. We can go back and look at when those numbers came out and look at the stock reaction. As far as the bigger question, I mean, really what this comes down to is we can debate how good of a number this is, what was the levers in it, how much lower gas prices. But ultimately, the question comes down to what do you think the underlying growth rate of this business? Because in your setup, you mentioned that Elon said that we're no longer a car company. And I think that most all Tesla investors would agree with that. But they are a tech company. And part of their tech is cars. I mean, this is one of the manifestations of physical AI is to have cars out there. And I think a lot of the learnings can be applied to other things. And so I think these delivery numbers are really important. And so what's been the hang up here? The hang up is that investors just simply don't believe that this is sustainable. If they thought that this number was sustainable, that we were at the end of an EV winter, the stock would be going higher, even with the narrative moving away from deliveries. The reality is that if there is a moment of sobriety with Tesla investors, they know that these delivery numbers still matter.